Locked On Podcast Network presents Locked On Sports Today.
The Yankees couldn't muster up any offense in Game 4 of the ALDS, and the Blue Jays sent them packing. Also, the Cubs are hanging on for at least one more game against the Brewers. And speaking of Milwaukee, Giannis is thinking about his future outside of Milwaukee and reportedly has New York on his mind.
I'm Peter Bukowski, starting your day with the can't-miss stories and biggest debates in sports. You're Locked On Sports Today.
Searching all major sports. Found.
Let's start with the biggest story.
The New York Yankees are up and out of here after failing to get anything done in Game 4 of the ALDS. Locked On Yankees host Stacey Gitsoulias and Brian McKeon reflect on the disappointing series and look ahead to what's next.
And it was indeed that botched double play from Jazz Chisholm. It turned out to be the last Cam Schlittler pitch, not only of the game, but obviously of the season. Nathan Lucas would punch home 2 more runs after that, and that turned a 2-1 game, which seemed very manageable, into 4-1, eventually 5-1, and then you knew it was lights out for the Yankees. So again, that was the turning point of the game without a doubt. Get it right out of the way as Jazz fails to make what would have been a good double play, but one in this position you certainly have to make, and he did not do that. Meanwhile, we talked about the 8 different Blue Jays that pitched tonight. We knew it was going to be a bullpen game. John Schneider knew that his team didn't have the advantage going up against Cam Schlittler. They were essentially without a starter, but it worked. They stifled the Yankees' bats from beginning to end with some specific Yankees in there that we need to pick on. Varland, Fluharty, Dominguez, Lauer, Rodriguez, Little, Fisher, and Hoffman all go for the Blue Jays. And again, they allow just 2 earned runs. Fluharty allowed the home run to Ryan McMahon, which is, to be honest, a shock because it came off a lefty. For McMahon, his first postseason home run, he had just 2 home runs against lefties this season, so that was a bit of a surprise. And then obviously the RBI single from Judge in the 9th inning, too little, too late at that point. And that came off of Jeff Hoffman, who gets the 4-out save. And again, the Blue Jays get the job done, striking out 10 Yankees tonight. Now, Trent Grisham, miserable postseason. He goes 0 for 5 tonight, hit 138 in the postseason. Aaron Judge, will put him aside because he was great. Cody Bellinger went 0 for 5. He hit 214 in the postseason. Giancarlo Stanton, not much, 192. Jazz, pitiful. Takes an 0 for, hit 182. Now, Paul Goldschmidt got the start in place of Ben Rice tonight. He did not have a hit. Austin Wells takes an 0 for. Ryan McMahon did hit the home run, and he actually wasn't terrible in the postseason. But again, the numbers are there to prove the point that the Yankees bats, with very few exceptions, in Game 2, when they were already down double digits, they put up 7 runs. Obviously, 8 unanswered in Game 3 was huge, and you figured all advantage to the Yankees at this point. Well, didn't happen. It's funny because in the very first inning, after a leadoff double from George Springer, 1 out, nobody on first base, John Smoltz said, I would walk Vladimir Guerrero Jr. here. What does Vladimir Guerrero Jr. do? Singles home George Springer and gets the Blue Jays on the board right out of the gates. Now, of course, Yankees have 27 outs to play with at that point in time, so it's not like they didn't have ample opportunity to come back and tie, but it set the tone. Lots of overmanaging, lots of second guessing, lots of foreshadowing. And again, it set the tone early. Springer with the double, Vladdy with the RBI single. In fact, the Blue Jays had a chance to add on more runs in the first inning, but they unfortunately could not, at least from their perspective, could not get out of it. All right, so as we said, Schlittler, Williams, Duvall, and Bednar pitched well enough to give the Yankees opportunities to score runs. But again, the huge error from Jazz Chisholm opened the floodgates. 3 hits for Addison Barger, 2 for Nathan Lucas, who is tremendous, and Ernie Clement, they just can't get out. Looks exactly like Aaron Boone, and they can't get him out. 643 he hit in the series.
Stay up to date all year on the New York Yankees by subscribing to Locked On Sports Today and Locked On Yankees on your favorite podcast app. Your Locked On Sports Today. Coming up, the Cubs are hanging on by a thread. Before we get to that, the Phillies tried to hang on against the Dodgers. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for the weekend with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I love using FanDuel because it fits how I want to bet in the moment, whether it's player props, building a same-game parlay, or jumping in live as the action unfolds. It's quick, it's easy, and the best way to add a little more energy to Sundays. So are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. The Phillies tried to keep their postseason hopes alive against the Dodgers.
From the deep, dark depths of Game 2 and Rob Thompson's terrible managing to the euphoria of an 8-2 Game 3 NLDS victory over the LA Dodgers. Also taking you from Rob Thompson saying, I think Rangers Suarez will be great. Home run. Phillies down 1-0. Takes out Aaron Nola after 2 scoreless, brings in Ranger. And that was really the only big blemish on Rangers' record on the night. Him and Nola combined for 7 scoreless innings, while the offense was jump-started and capped by a phenomenal night from Kyle Schwarber. Breaks out of an 0-for-23 slump with a 455-foot game-tying home run that left Dodger Stadium, and then also came up home run in the 8th inning to cap off the Phillies scoring. Phillies bottom line right now, they stay alive, and now they have Christopher Sanchez on the hill in Game 4 trying to send it back to Philadelphia for a decisive Game 4.
The Browns confirmed they are starting Joe Flacco against the Packers.
I didn't expect it to happen this early. I certainly didn't expect it to move on from Joe so quickly, even after he was benched. But at the same time, it's not like they had much need for him at this point. This does sort of cue, hey, we're all in on trying to see what these rookies can do and set the stage for more of that evaluation process at 1-4 on the season. And things obviously not going the way that anybody had hoped to this point as you were trying to be competitive and whatnot to open up the season.
And speaking of the Browns, their moves are not done. Cleveland and the Jaguars trading cornerbacks and 6th and 7th round picks. I don't understand what's going on with this trade at all. Greg Newsome for Tyson Campbell. It's weird.
I always joke about there never being a dull moment with the Cleveland Browns, and it was true again on Wednesday. I was laying in bed, working on some stuff, uploading my crossover show with Chris Carter over at Locked On Steelers. I was uploading that to the channel and getting some stuff done, and then all of a sudden, news comes down. Browns are making a trade. Greg Newsome and a 2026 6th-round pick to the Jaguars for Tyson Campbell and a 2026 7th-round pick. And, the wheeling and dealing continues back-to-back days for the Browns. One day after trading Joe Flacco, they trade Greg Newsome. We know that Greg's name has been mentioned in trade rumors for several years now, as we wondered if the Browns would actually be willing to give him an extension. He's now playing outside, which is where he's always wanted to play, and he's been playing really well. Like these first 5 games, he's been really solid, setting himself up for a big payday. And so the number one thing this suggests is they didn't view Greg Newsome as part of their future plans. This team they traded Joe Flacco. They're all in on the youth movement. They got the rookie quarterback starting now. Like they are embracing that, and they're starting to figure out who's part of their future and who's not. Greg Newsome was not. And so they make this trade. It's a weird one in that there wasn't a lot of cornerback talent on this team to begin with. So why make this move now? Still 4 weeks out from the trade deadline. Maybe you could have got more for Greg Newsome if he kept playing well later on this season. There's those factors into it. But clearly the Browns thought this was the deal they wanted to make. They viewed Tyson Campbell as an asset to get back and replace Greg Newsome. And Campbell's a guy who already signed an extension. He was actually taking 7 picks after Newsome was in 2021, pick number 33 overall in 2021. Pick number 33. And Like he signed an extension last year, minimal cap hit this year for the Browns, manageable cap hit next year for the Browns. And then by 2027, his base salary jumps up to $15 million. And I think but by then the Browns can decide, like, is this a guy that we're going to keep around or not? The cap implications of this are in play as well. Greg was one of the only contracts the Browns had on the books that had no dead money tied to it beyond, the guarantees of this year. So moving on from him opens up a bunch of cap space, which allows them to add Tyson Campbell and maybe create space for down the line as they have that rollover cap. It's like I said, interesting move. It makes me wonder if this is the first couple moves towards more to come for this team, because let's face it, they're not really good. They're going nowhere fast at 1-4, and with the trade deadline approaching, I gotta wonder if they just keep sort of shedding off players that aren't part of their future plans. We'll see.
The Cubs got out to an early lead over the Brewers in Game 3 of the NLDS and held on to take a game over Milwaukee. Locked On Cubs host Matt Olber and Sam Cozy reacted to the win and previewed another crucial game in Chicago.
But the Cubs win 4-3. They get all their runs again in the first inning. 4 runs in the first. Michael Busch, Pete Crow Armstrong, they come through when you need them. Right at the beginning of the game, you got to put pressure on the local kid, Priester, and get to him. And they accomplished that. And that's the best part of what we saw from the lineup today is the first inning. The problems are still there. We're going to talk about the good stuff. The problems are still there. But coming out in the first inning, like if the Cubs had a chance to win this game today, they needed to do exactly what they did. And that's go out there, score multiple runs in the first, push the starter out of the game. Obviously, they didn't have any success against the Brewers bullpen. But if you're going to get a chance to do that, you got to get the starter out of there. And Michael Busch, what he's done in the leadoff spot, it's incredible. He has been a monster there. It reminds me so much of when Rizzo was there hitting leadoff for the Cubs, the power that he brings. And Pico Armstrong, who has been obviously rightfully frustrated. We saw it again today, screaming at the umpires, throwing his glove when he could have made that catch. It was a tough play. Very upset. We saw him, in the last game throwing his bat and stuff like that, but comes through there in the bottom of the first, and you need those guys to step up, and the Cubs haven't had that. And again, today they left a lot of runners in scoring position, a lot of the runners on base. The problems are still there, but in that first inning specifically, you needed it. And there's signs that this game has a lot more positives, even though the runners in scoring position isn't great. Like seeing Kyle Tucker get 2 hits in this game, Seiya Suzuki making really hard contact in this game. I think the double was like 117 miles an hour off the bat, an incredible catch by the Brewers right fielder that robbed him of a hit in this one as well. So the lineup felt more alive in this game. Even though they only scored 4 runs in the first inning, the lineup was better today than it has been so far in this series. If they're going to make a series out of this thing, though, for real, which is win tomorrow and get this thing back to Milwaukee, you got to score runs outside of the first inning. Like it's good they finally scored more than 3 runs in a playoff game. They got enough to get the W today, but they got to get guys home later in the game. They did have a lot of opportunities, not a lot of opportunities, but a couple crucial opportunities in this game where they just didn't get the big hit again. And you need that to change. That to me is going to be the difference maker in this series. We'll get to the pitching part of it here in a second, but from the lineup perspective, you have to get guys home out of the first after the first inning, because they're accomplishing that. Like whether it's Busch, Suzuki, or today Busch and PCA, they're getting guys home in the first. But it's going to be impossible to win this series, it feels like, to do this same recipe tomorrow. If you score 3 runs in the first and you don't score again in the next 8 innings of baseball, I have a hard time envisioning the Cubs winning the game with this exact same formula. They really needed that insurance run. Like after Kittredge gave up the home run to make it a 1-run game, it felt like they desperately needed an insurance run in this game. They obviously did not get it, but tomorrow they're going to need it, because the Brewers, man, like they fight, they take good at bats. They're obviously a very, very good baseball team. So if you're going to try to push this thing to Game 5 and back to Milwaukee, you need more runs after the first inning. So it's a step in the right direction. The only way you can, win this series is by winning 1 game at a time at this point. You put yourself in a 2-0 hole, And you know, it's a cliche, but they always say a series doesn't really start, whether it's baseball or basketball, whatever, hockey. A series doesn't really start until the home team loses. Well, the home team loses tomorrow, and the series is over. But today's a good day to get the Cubs to at least force a game 4. If you're going to have a chance to win the series, today was obviously the first thing you needed today. And what also you needed in this one was good pitching. We'll talk about who's going to start game 4 here in a little bit. I'm hoping we'll just get an announcement before the show is over that it is going to be Matthew Boyd or someone else. But Jameson Taillon gave you pretty much everything you needed him, you needed from a starting pitcher. 4 innings at this point, at the way baseball is structured now. I heard Matt and Sam talking about this. It'd be nice to see these guys go longer in the game, but it's just not the way the sport works anymore. They yank guys early. They trust their bullpen. Craig Counsell rightfully trusts his bullpen. The guys who are there now, which is something I felt like I was not going to be able to see in the postseason, but the reason why the Cubs are even in this position is because of the bullpen. But Taillon gives you the 4 innings that you desperately needed in this game, something you have not gotten from Boyd and Imanaga in the first games of this series. Taillon did his job. He was very impressive, and I heard Justin Steele on Marquee before the game, or I saw the clip online about feeling confident in Taillon on the bump. It's deserved. He's been nails for you out there on 2 elimination games and giving you a chance to win the baseball game to support this team, and he was able to do that. He ends up on the day final line score for Jameson Taillon: 4 innings, 5 hits, 2 earned runs, 3 strikeouts, 75 pitches. So you can make the argument, go back out there for the 5th, but in the end of the day, it worked because the bullpen, again, is nails. I mean, Drew Pomerantz, an inning pitched, 2 strikeouts, has yet to give up a single run, a 0.00 ERA in the postseason. Palencia comes in. He gets his inning, 3 up and 3 down. Kittredge obviously gives up the leadoff homer. Gets a little stressful there with Kittredge on the mound, but ultimately, him and gets out of it. Thielbar and Brad Keller, they finished off the final 2 innings. So your bullpen did everything you could have asked for and more, shutting down a Brewers lineup that is very, very talented and obviously has got major damage against your starters so far in this series. And the home run tonight that was hit off Kittredge, that was the first run the Brewers have scored in this series after the 5th inning. So the bullpen through 3 games has been excellent.
Stay up to date all year on the Chicago Cubs by subscribing to Locked On Sports Today and Locked On Cubs on YouTube or your favorite podcast app. Coming up, the Knicks were reportedly the only team Giannis would have left the Bucks to play for. Could he still leave Milwaukee? According to recent reports from ESPN, Giannis Antetokounmpo was considering a move out of Milwaukee this offseason, but chose to stay with the Bucks. More recent reporting indicate that if Giannis had left, it would have been to play for the Knicks. Locked On Knicks host Gavin Shaw explains why, despite the fact that this would have been a monstrous move, hearing the news now doesn't really move him.
To be honest, at the risk of sounding like an ass, I make nothing of it because this is kind of, it's not obvious. I'm not trying to be like, oh, and I knew this the entire time and I told nobody. But I don't know. I was reporting during the whole Jason Kidd saga with the head coaching search that I would keep an eye on Jason Kidd and Giannis having a connection. I don't think the Knicks would make a coaching change in their title window based solely off of a relationship like that. But if their master plan is Giannis, it does make sense that Kidd might be a potential stop along the way. Also, I don't know. I'm trying to find my tweet from a very long time ago about how the Knicks are always monitoring the Giannis situation. And that's someone who they're willing to shake things up for, who they're trying to build towards acquiring, that he's up at the upper echelon. He's the number 1 guy after now because of Brunson's ascension. It kind of moves Booker positionally out of that top consideration. I just this all makes sense. It all makes sense. And I remember if you don't, I do, there was this weird little report that came out also connected with that Jason Kidd stuff. And it was essentially hey, there's Gary Wolfel, I think it was, right? Gary out in Milwaukee wrote, yesterday, I was told the Knicks are preparing to make a tsunami type offer. This was on June 6th. and that, the Knicks looking into Kidd could very much be connected to that. So like the Giannis stuff shouldn't surprise you. I think this is very real. And that's kind of like the easy pivot here. But I just retweeted something from TJ Windish. He's on the Gyro Step podcast. And he said the Giannis thing is a real story because when given the chance to personally deny it at media day, Giannis said it's true he considered his options because he's tired of losing in the first round. I get people here don't want to hear that, but he literally said that. It's a story. So this is all very real. Giannis and Kat start thinking about how the weaknesses of one complement the strengths of another or vice versa. Also, like it all lines up. This is what the Knicks have been doing for years, is trying to be as good as they can while leaving something wedged in the door that leaves that door open to be better in the future.
Giannis addressed these reports at Media Day yesterday, and here's what he had to say.
ESPN came out with a report about you and the Bucks talking about possibly trading you somewhere and you coming out with a team in the Knicks that you would agree to go to. I'm curious just how you kind of feel about that story and how you guys did it.
First of all, I haven't read that story. When the season started, I tried to get off social media, try to focus on my craft and the team. But yeah, I've said this many times. Like, I want to be in situations that I can win, and now I'm here. I believe in this team. I believe in my teammates. I'm here to lead this team to wherever we can go. And it's definitely gonna be hard. We're gonna take it day by day, but I'm here. So all the other extra stuff does not matter. I think I've communicated with my teammates, communicate with the people that I respect and love, that the moment that I step in on this court or in this facility and wear this jersey, the rest does not matter. I'm locked into whatever I have in front of me. Now, if in 6-7 months I change my mind, I think that's human too. You're allowed to make any decision you want, but I'm locked in. I'm locked into this team. I'm locked into these guys, to this group, and to my coaching staff, and to myself.
I find Giannis to be one of the most genuine superstars we have in any sport. I don't think he plays games with the media. I don't think he does the negotiate through the media stuff that LeBron James does. I think he speaks from the heart. And we've heard this before. Hey, maybe I'd want to play in Chicago. Hey, maybe I'd want to leave Milwaukee someday and play for a championship if I didn't think I could get it done. We've heard this before from him. This is not new. It's just not what most players would say. He's honest. And that's what we want our stars to be. And finally, A'ja Wilson went off in Game 3 of the WNBA Finals. Wilson poured in 34 points, 14 boards, 4 assists, and the game-winning fadeaway with just 0.3 seconds to go to give the Aces a 90-88 win over the Mercury. She not only nailed the game winner to give LA a 3-0 lead in the finals, but also now holds the record for most points in a single WNBA postseason. There's nothing, absolutely nothing that the 4-time MVP can't do, cementing herself as maybe the best to ever do it. If you're catching this episode after hearing your favorite Locked On show, make sure to subscribe to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts so you never miss an episode. Also, if you're a new subscriber to Locked On Sports Today, we're here for you with the biggest stories in sports every day. Coming up, do the Eagles show any mercy to the Giants later tonight? So at least until tomorrow, stay locked on sports today.
Locked On Podcast Network presents Locked On Sports Today.
For more episodes of Locked On Sports Today, go to our video on demand. Click on sports at the top of your screen. There, you'll find past episodes of Locked On Sports Today, plus other Locked On shows on demand.